Welcome to UV resin number 8. Yes, we've had 8. Well, we will have 8 soon as we're done. Now, last time we introduced the new UV resin papers and patterns for jewelry, and these are some of the projects that we did. Now, when you get that, you get a lot of patterns. You're going to get some acetate. You're going to get some paper patterns. And what's really nice, of course, is on the back, we're going to give you some instructions and show you the pieces that we are using for the bezels. So that's the papers that you get. But this time, we're going to do something different. We're going to do, things like this and things like this. So please come play with us. So to begin with, on our first project, I'm going to walk you through the process that we did last time, just so that if you're just seeing this out of sequence, you've got that in your pocket. And let me show you what's in this package. So you get a piece of acetate. Let's see, there you go. A piece of acetate that's got the shapes of the bezels that we are using. So rectangle, square, circle, oval, and earrings, because we have those. Now, also inside, you're going to get all of those patterns in paper. I'll show you why you need both. Then these are the paper patterns, and as you can see, they're done in blocks. And there are some that have an overall background, and that's what we're going to kind of focus on today, and some that have artwork. So we're going to do a couple of those too. So you get a variety. Let's see, maybe I should turn this right side up. There you go. And, oh, that's a duplicate. Anyway, you get 4 different ones. Okay, I seem to be missing one. Okay, so we're going to, this time, so you can see, this is one, like I said, last time, we'll get in closer now, where we just did the paper. So getting in closer, there we go. Okay, so you can see, and that's what we did on each of them, just with a lot of different shapes and sizes. But you get lots more paper. So this time we are going to add some different things to those papers. And I'm going to, again, just go through the process. So what I recommend doing is taking the acetate and laying it onto the patterned papers. So like right now, let's see, let me get this one all separated, okay? So here I want to do the dream. Now I want to get dream in there. And you can see that you can move these around on everywhere. And so you could do the beautiful and the butterfly if you wanted to, but I want to scoot it over to the dream. Now when I have that figured out, so this is my kind of design acetate, then I'm going to take that big sheet with all the paper patterns. And you only have this many because after you cut them out, you might lose them. And besides, why not give you a whole bunch of them rather than just giving you one of each? So that was our goal. So you cut it out, and I've already done that. And then you remove the acetate, take your paper, position it as you did the acetate. And I will tell you at this point, it's going to be easier to kind of whack that out so that you're not working with this whole big piece of paper. So then you cut that to fit. So I've already done that. Okay, so that takes care of that step. Now, the big thing with these papers and using a bezel is that you want it sealed. And because you don't want the UV resin to get under the paper or into the paper, so you really want to secure it tightly. And we use our Cosmic Shimmer Specialist glue. So I'm going to squeeze a bit over here, actually. And now that lid was off, so let me do a better job of unscrewing this. You do need a bit of glue, so you do not dilute it, by the way. You leave it just as it comes from the jar. And you take a paintbrush and just dip it in. So I'm going to scoot this over here and just brush it on the front of your paper, like so. Now, you also want to make sure to get to the edges. So be sure to apply the glue all the way to the edges. And you might even want to, when you're all done, just do it on the edges like that. In fact, I highly recommend that. So then I'm going to lay this back down. Now, the first time I did this ever, when you spread it out like this, you're going to have a bit of glue on the edges, okay? And I thought, oh, well, why don't I just let that dry? When I lift this up, I'll take that glue that's kind of at the edges and bring it onto the back of the paper. That's probably not a good idea because it makes your paper not smooth and doesn't lie down quite so flat. So you're going to do that. You're going to let it dry. And when it has dried, as right now, this one has dried. How do you like that? Okay. Now we want to put it into our bezel. So again, we're going to use our glue. You go back to that and apply that to the inside of your bezel because that's where the paper is going to rest. And it will secure the paper and it just takes care of, whole process there. So doing that. And I'm going to now take this and position it in. Now, there is another step that we do, being very careful about that glue, wanting it to be on the edges, is that we took the fine tip applicator, and this is just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Filled it with the Cosmic Shimmer glue. It comes with a pin in the top, but we also sell the Dritz pins separately because sometimes you lose little things. So pull this puppy out, and we're just going to squeeze it. Make sure the paper's down there onto the glue, and I'm just going to squeeze it along the edge, like so. Come on, glue. I've given you a nice buildup. Why aren't you coming out? Okay. Well, that's surprising because that pin was in it. It might have just gotten a little bit of glue on the tip. Do you like the fact that I say how simply these things are and then I have a difficulty with it? I do that just for you. Okay. Oh, come on. I'm going to have to speak firmly to it. And you just push that in there. Hopefully that will. If not, I will stop the camera and come back and fix it. So I don't know about you, but where I live, it's been over 100 degrees for this whole week, and I think a little bit of glue got stuck in the applicator. So all I did was take the top off, and I just pushed the pin, backwards through it, and it removed that little clog. So. Anyway, happy to give you those tips. Okay, so going back to this, we're just going to go right along the edge, and I want to do that the whole way, and just to get this really sealed on all four sides. And if you have any question about it, you can always take your brush and go over it again. That's fine. But usually this is just going to work nicely, and you see how tiny that bead of glue is, and so that's going to be clear when it dries. I guess I should have mentioned that earlier. Of course, we're only using glue that's going to dry clear, so that's going to be quite perfect. And we do need to let that happen right now. I don't think I need to get in there, so I'm just going to let this dry. And I will be right back. Okay, now it's dry. Now before I do the resin, because this webisode is about adding things to the art, so I thought it would be fun to use the watch parts. Now the watch parts are tiny. I do love that they come in this case that screws closed, and you don't need many, so that's kind of neat. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of resin in my bezel. And then I'm going to add the watch parts. And I'm just going to add them in one area. So let me just bring this in. Now the rectangle bezels are flat. They will lie flat, so that's really nice. We bring in our trusty toothpick to spread this around. really get it into the corners because that's where you want to make sure it's adhering and complete coverage. So I find that I just really take the time to look at this from all angles so that I see that shine everywhere. And the toothpick does a very good job of bringing this in, plus the toothpick, of course, is disposable. And go right down here. And we'll add the watch parts last because the resin's going to hold it in place. Now, I will tell you that I did experiment with putting a little bit of glue down and placing the watch parts before I did the resin, and that worked too. But I didn't want to confuse the issue. So, okay. So resin is at all the corners, doing exactly what it's supposed to do and lying there perfectly. Then I'm going to take my fine tip tweezers and I kind of dump out a few of the pieces because there are different sizes, and I want to have opportunities and options. So, and I'm just going to do them in a corner over here, I think. And I think the watch parts tend to give a steampunk look to it, which is fine. Now I can use my tweezers just to poke this into the resin. If you don't have these tweezers, I know we have them for a limited time, but I do recommend that that you use them. They're really nifty. So I want to get that down below the resin, like so. And I'm not going to do very many. I mean, I'm not going to do like 20 or 30. Certainly not on camera. That would take a while. But I am just getting them in there. So I think I want to do another little guy down there. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll probably add one more, maybe right there. And again, you can layer them on top of each other. So there's no right or wrong to this, but you just want to make sure that they're down there and secure, which the resin is going to do. And you can scoot them around like I'm doing. Hopefully, let me see if you can see that. Okay, there you go. That's the idea. Now, I will use a baby wipe and clean off my tweezers. And yeah, I think that's going to work. You like it? Yeah, just a little bit. So then the next thing is going to be careful as I'm tipping this not to spill out the resin. Then we're just going to put it under the UV light. I'll do that off camera. This is the Mighty Timer, and you can see it gives us 3 times. I think it is 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and 60 seconds. And what I find with all of the bezels is that it takes a couple of times. So I'll scoot these away, and through the magic of TV, I will bring this in. So that's exactly what it's going to look like. It's just nice and shiny, and those pieces do, I think they do a nice job with the green and the gold in the papers. So that's our first project of adding something. Our second project is we're going to be using dazzles. And if you are familiar with us here at Paper Wishes, we love dazzles, and so do our customers. More importantly, so do our customers. And I'm going to take another rectangle, and I've already whacked this out. Remember, that was my directive to go ahead and whack it out. Here is my paper. I did already take my acetate, and I wanted to get those flowers, okay, right there. So it's going to be over a little bit, about 1/4 of an inch from that edge. So that's where I'm going to place this. And I like to hold it up to a light to make sure that this is working. And then I'm going to hold it and cut it out. So that's why you need the acetate and the papers. And I do find that for working with jewelry, these smaller scissors work. These are the 4.5-inch ones, just because they give you more control, especially if you are cutting out these circles or ovals. Okay, so just going right along the edge, no big deal. And let me do this. Now, some of the dazzles on this sheet, there we go. So there it is. Now, some of the dazzles on this sheet are much larger than my paper. So I do a trick, and here's my trick. I take either a sheet protector, or you could really take your acetate, because you have lots of room on the acetate. So if you've got some dazzles that you want to see, gee, is it going to work? This is a way you can do it. It's just place it on the acetate. So what I did is I pulled off, in fact, I'll do it again. So this is the corner dazzles, and all you do is lift them up. No big deal, just like that. And I'll go ahead and place this over here. Let me find a spot on my sheet. And this isn't the one I wanted. Okay, this isn't the one I wanted. I wanted the one next to it. So I'm going to place this back on here. And it'll stay. Okay, this is the one I want, over in the right-hand corner. So I'm going to lift this off, same deal. Just lift it. And this is going to become my decorative piece. So, okay. So this could work, but I see something else right here that I think I'm going to try. So lots of options on this piece. In fact, I'll be showing you a couple of others. So here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to place that there. It really makes no difference where you place it, because what I want to do is I want to put it over my dazzle, because I think that's pretty nifty. So let me scoot this, and let's get the camera closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so we're getting in there. And okay, she's pushing the button and it's working. Okay, now can you see that my dazzle is wider than my paper? Does that mean I can't use my dazzle? It absolutely does not. What it means is that now I know, well, number one, I like it. So I'm going to lift this off. And notice I didn't press it down on that acetate. I just, kind of let it be there. And I'm going to position it here. So I want it at the bottom, like so. And then I'm going to go right up, just like that. And then I'm going to trim this off. I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to use my scissors and trim it. Now, at what point in the process do you think you would want to do that? I think the best place to do that is after you have sealed your paper and you've placed it into, and before you've placed it into your bezel, because that way you can put the dazzle on top of it, you can trim it to fit, then you can put your glue here and get that right into your bezel, just like so, just like that. I love the layering of the black on top of that kind of gray and brown. I think it's a very classy look. And then you just go through the rest of the process. So what do you think? I think that gives you lots of opportunities. Okay, I have more to share. Now, the two papers that I first used have art on them. I'm going to go now to a piece that doesn't have much art on it. In fact, it's just design, and here it is. So right there, that's the one I'm talking about. And this one, I'm going to trim out just like always. And let me see. In fact, you can get 2 pieces of the rectangles out of one of square, and we designed that to make it easy that way. So I'm going to place this, I'm just going to trim this out. Also, if you are doing the squares or the ovals, you can get several of those out of these papers. So it's just nice to know that you've got lots of options, and goodness sakes, we like options, don't we? So there's my paper, and because I don't have to position it quite so perfectly as I do when there's art, I'm just going to trim this down to go right along with my paper pattern. Okay, so there we go. Now, set this aside, set that aside. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is with this same set of dazzles, and what I like, and I want to show it to you on the acetate, are these center areas. So there's some corners there. And what I wanted to figure out is how can I play with those onto my bezel. So this allows me, if I do it this way, it allows me to play with it and decide how I want to position it before I've attached it to the paper. So, whoops, let's get that in there. Getting closer again, please. Okay, so you see I've taken this piece and I've just placed it here. Now I've got a lot of room there, and I've got more dazzles, so I'm going to take this corner dazzle again and lift it off. There we go. And what you'll do is when you pull it off, just let it relax. See, you don't have to mess with it very much. Just pull it off and then just let it relax into shape. So notice what I've done is that curve, that corner curve, kind of nests in the corner of my paper. So just like that. And you see, just let it rest and it will come back down. Now, I don't want to put it too tight onto the paper because it's on acetate. What I want to do is bring it over to the paper. So you can take that and you can mess with it. You can decide, gee, do I want to put it on a square? If I do, I would just need to trim it. Or do I want to put it onto a circle? That's how it would be on a circle. I can do things with, ooh, that's pretty on the oval. And I can do them easily by using my acetate and either my sheet protector or my acetate and put this onto the printed papers. So this is what it looks like when it is attached. So I think it just really fills the space nicely. So there's things on here that we haven't used, but things that you could use. So even that border, you can trim it and use it very much like what I just showed you. So that's going to work. Now, something else that we have now is we have earrings, and we have earrings in gold, silver, and bronze. Now, when you are doing the rectangle bezel, they're flat, so you don't have to worry about the resin slipping. But when you get into something like earrings, you're going to need to put them on something that is more stable and will hold them flat. So you can take a piece of foam or anything that's going to let you lay them down so that they're flat, just like this. Now, where did I cut that? And then you can put your resin on and not worry about it shifting. Now that's going to be true with some of the other shapes of the bezels too. So you can see on these, actually what I used was that border. So I just trimmed it to fit, just like I showed you. So you've got a set. How nice is that? That works beautifully. Okay, we're going to move on to some other looks that I will have all ready for you. And here is the finished of this. Now that is the, obviously, the black and white paper. And let me show you what that looks like. Here it is. So it's right next to the one that we just used. And you see it's an all-over pattern, like some of these are. Now some of the all-over patterns you can cut out areas, which is what we did earlier. Remember, with our first webisode on these papers. But right now we're going to use this one. And I have cut it into a square to fit into the silver. You want to seal it with the glue. And then this is a whole sheet of peel-offs. Peel-offs is another name. Dazzles is a brand name. Peel-offs is kind of the generic term. And you can see that these come in sets of corners, but what's kind of neat is that the first one I laid down, in fact, let me just lift that so you can see it. By the way, I pulled off the backing, that's why you see the white. Okay, so to mirror what I've done here, I wanted it more into the center of my paper, like that. Okay, now when I went to put the second piece on, and I want to remind you that that paper has been sealed already. So there we go. And I'm going to put this. Now, what I discovered is that there's not enough room for these two to be separated. So you just overlap. Just overlap those. Like so. And then you have your black with the silver, and I think it's pretty striking. You like it? Very classy, folks, very classy. Now, we also have silver earrings. So what I did is I made them so that they are mirror images of each other. Can you see that? You see how the point is on this one to the right, and on this one it's to the left? Or you can, use them that way. So this is another way that you can use dazzles and peel-offs to make a coordinated set. Now these squares, and it's true of the circles also, do not lie flat. So you also need to get something like this to maybe let that ring hang off so that this will lay flat as you're putting your resin in it. Okay? Now, I have another trick for you. Two more tricks. And here we go. Here is a square gold. And this has some butterflies on it. However, the butterflies only come in gold. What are we going to do? We're going to color them. We're going to color them with a Sharpie. So all you do is, and you do this twice, is simply color it while it's on the sheet. Don't take it off. Just color it while it's on the sheet. Just like this. Go over the edges because you want to make sure that you're getting the entire piece. And I used these two. Okay. So then you let it dry a moment. It only takes a moment. And then you come back and do it again. You just need to get those two coats. Now I have to say I have not tried this with colors, other colors of Sharpies, but I would imagine that you can do them. It works on silver or gold stickers, so that's nice to know. And another thing while that's drying I wanted to share with you. So I cut out this square right here, but look, I can do 1, 2, 3 more, or I can do a circle. So I've got the square. Here is a circle. Or I could do a square and a circle and a rectangle. So that's why we designed these to be the size that they are, is because you can go in and use multiple shapes in that piece. Okay, so with this now being ready, I can show you how I lifted it. In fact, I don't have this cut, so let me quickly do that while that dries. It really just takes a moment, so you don't have to worry about it. But you don't want to lift it up and have black fingers, which I can tell you I have done because I'm not the most patient of people. And so I'm just cutting this out because I forgot to do it ahead of time. And I just want to show you how easy it is to pick those up and place them. And just cut my little square. Okay, so here it is. And I'm going to duplicate what I have on the piece. So I'm going to lift up this little guy and place it. And this one I placed right down here. And you hold it. Whoops. And yeah, I think I'll just let it be right there. Okay, now I wanted this one to be facing the other direction, but all of them face the same direction. So I had to pretend that it's doing what I want. And I'm just turning it over. Okay, so I want to bring that in. And there you go. So that takes care of it. And as the same that I showed you with the silver earrings, you can have gold earrings too. Okay, so that works. Now I have one more trick to share. And this has a very different look. So here we are. We have, this is obviously the silver circle. And we have a dazzle in there. As you know, the dazzles are a color. Black is what we've been using because that is most effective against the papers. But look at the color in there. Let me show you how we did that. So I have my paper and I have already sealed it with the glue. And I'm going to take this same sheet that I just did and I'm going to color the next one up. Should have done this at the same time, shouldn't I? And again, you want to do 2 coats. And you just want to get it nice and thoroughly done. So you do want to see a little bit of black on the edges. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to color it again. Yes, I know that didn't totally dry, but work with me on this. Okay, so I'm going to let that set. And I want to give you some other examples of what we're going to do. So here's the one that I finished. And here's the ones that sparked the creativity. And I have to thank Jennifer, my vice president, who has worked with me on all of these UV resins. And look what she did. She just put the transparent resin into the areas of the dazzles. How neat is that? Now, as a bonus, you do get this little bubble. It's going to get covered up by the resin, as was done with this, but you still get the look. Now, there are 2 designs that will work well with this. One of them is this that has the grays, and that works really nicely. There is another one that we used earlier that had this design over on the left, and then it went very gray. So you've got 2 sheets in here that will use this technique quite perfectly. And if you are a paper crafter, you can do this just on the front of your cards and it will work beautifully. Okay, so let me show you what we do. Here it is on just white with some of the other shapes that are on this particular piece. So hopefully I've let that rest long enough. And now I'm going to lift it and put it onto my prepared piece. And let's see, I think I'll have it like that. This just goes smack dab in the middle. There we go. Now you can move it should you want to, so that works just fine. And as I said, this is going into a silver piece, so you would put the glue in and set that down. I think right now I will just set it in there. And yeah, there you go. Now what you're going to use are the transparents. So let me bring some out. There is turquoise, purple, magenta, pink, and blue. So you can use any of the colors you want. I think I used the magenta on the outsides, or did I use purple? I'm not sure. So I think I'll take the magenta. Now you only need a drop, literally a drop, and you do need a toothpick. So I'm going to put my drop right here. Only a drop, I swear to you, just a drop. And I will get my toothpick out and do some painting. So it's just going to be a drop at a time. Actually, it's smaller than a drop. I'm going to do the outside of the butterfly wings. So I'm just lifting this and putting it there. I'm going to spread it a little bit. And that's all you do. In fact, it will spread on its own. So you might just drop it and then come back, and if it needs to be further spread, you can do that. So I'm putting it on all four corners. Okay, a little bit less got on that one. I'm going to go back to this and just spread it. Now I want to be sure that it doesn't go outside the dazzle or the peel off. If it happens that it smooshes and goes over, a Q-tip will take care of that, okay? Ask me how I know and I will tell you, because I tried it, because I had a little libbit. And so I just want to make sure that that's going into the shape. Okay, so can you see the magenta is really on this gray is a kind of a pinky color. Then let's do blue. So I did a drop, and you see I still have some left. So if you can figure out how to do a half a drop, you might be in good shape. Drops are all I'm able to do. Okay, so there's a bigger size drop. I'm going to take the other end of the toothpick, and then I'm going to do the center area. Just right like this. Just tap it in. And when you get into these tiny areas, you really just so need just a tiny, tiny bit. Okay, I think you're getting the idea. So you can continue doing that. You can play with the colors as you like, but the finished result, after you put the resin on, what you would want to do is to cure this, then do the resin and cure the resin. Okay, so it's a two-step process. So there you go. And like I said, in the jewelry, you're going to lose that 3D effect, but card makers, I highly recommend this. I think they're gorgeous. Now, you don't have to do the tiny ones like this. You can do bigger dazzles and get lots of color and lots of shine. Just be sure to cure it with the timer, because that's going to, or with your light, just be sure to cure it, because that's what you're going to want. So today we have further explored the UV resin papers and patterns for jewelry, and you've seen all the ways that we can use watch parts, we can use dazzles, we can use peel-offs, and do some absolutely beautiful jewelry. I hope you've liked it. Please tell me. By the way, all of the projects are down below. I've shown you the instructions, so we didn't write them out. There is a money saver over on the right side of your screen. I'm delighted that we now have earrings in gold, silver, and bronze, so that's nice to have. And this is just more ways that you can use this wonderful thing we call UV resin. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jennifer, for giving me so much help on UV resin. If you're watching this on YouTube, we hope that you will like us. We hope that you will subscribe, and do be sure to tell us what you're thinking, because that's important, and we like to know how you're taking this and if this is valuable to you, as valuable as it is to us. And do come over to paperwishes.com, see the money saver. You can check out bigger photographs of the finished projects, and have a good time with us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month with some brand new things that you can do with UV resin. Bye-bye.